Still, storytelling is very fun, and I want more writers to write, and as well as defeating those shitty AI stories. Hello, my name is Neil. I'm a novelist, but I also love comics. That's why I'm ranking Japanese manga. Manga, not anime. So this video is different. So a few people disagree with my manga ranking, but that's not the reason why I'm making this video. I just think that it would be great for me to share my knowledge in storytelling to you guys. So this video is for me to shift the foundations in storytelling. Other than being a novelist, I'm also studying a 4 master's degree in screenwriting for TV series. I know my professors love my stories, so I feel approved already. I'm not gonna be humble about it, or else I wouldn't have the confidence to make this video. Still, storytelling is very fun, so I want to share the knowledge with you guys, and I want more writers to write, and as well as defeating those shitty AI stories. Now, this video will focus on these materials to build a story: premise, genre, setting, characters, and plot. Other than these 5, I will also make a separate video talking about other arguments that I frequently talked about in my videos, like ambiance or pacing or specific characters like the antagonist. Well, let's start with what the audience usually see first, which is the premise. It is what we usually see in the loglines, the description of a book or comic, because it is the core of the action, the central idea, like destroying the ring in Lord of the Rings. The premise must be innovative to initially grasp the audience's attention. For example, Demon Slayer's premise is a group of demon slayers killing the Demon King. This sort of premise is so overused that when you see it, you can probably already guess all the plot from start to finish. A better example would be Monster. The premise is a doctor unknowingly revived a serial killer, so he gives up his duty to save people and goes on a journey of killing the killer that he once revived. That's an exciting premise, isn't it? So, the premise must be innovative. And of course, I would definitely suggest writing the premise first so you know how to base your characters and how the plot is gonna go, because everything is focused on this central idea. Premise is closely related to genre. I'm sure everyone knows what genre is. Now, imagine Demon Slayer's premise is paired with romance. The audience is intrigued. Could it be that the heroes are defeating the demons with love or something? It is stupid, but I do want to see it happen. I will use a book that I am currently writing as an example. Premise is surviving in a post-apocalyptic world, but the genre is slice of life. How could one be living a casual slice of life in such a horrendous context? I wish to capture the audience attention by such contrasting premise and genre. Overall, if you don't decide your premise first, which you should, you can start with the genre and use it as your first step of brainstorming your idea. It all depends on which genre you're more familiar with. But if you really want to practice, I suggest you look into genre that you may or may not like, to just learn more, to just make your story more diverse. Because as stated in my last video, Call of the Night, that manga has so many genres, make it super interesting to read. Of course, you still need a fixed genre, or else the audience might fail off and be confused. You can also start by the setting. I'm quite sure that Akihiro created the setting for Made in Abyss first before planning other materials, because it's such a heavy setting-focused manga. Setting is also very linked to genre, especially for sci-fi and fantasy. You can create your own version of those worlds, and you can base your premise and plot on the settings, just like genre. Of course, you can use reality as a setting, but it can be a historical genre about the past. But if you write modern reality, most fictions focus on internal desires and struggles as the premise, so write it as relatable and emotional as possible, because modern audience like that, and so do I. But, look at Goodnight Pumper, look at The Climber. Those are reality based on respective genres, but they both have metaphors drawn into them. You want finding redemption on the icy mountain? You got it. You want realizing that you have been corrupted? You got it too. Goodnight Pumper and The Climber have turned the world into a magical place. So a setting based on the reality doesn't mean following all the rules we have in this world. I will talk about writing literary devices in comics in a second, by that I mean in the next video. Another important thing in setting is narrative pact. Narrative pact is the unspoken contract that the story and the audience have agreed to. For example, in a medieval genre, the characters cannot pull out a freaking shotgun and kill people. But if you have showcased the shotgun early in the story to show that the story isn't that loyal to the medieval idea, then no problem. But you cannot break the logical setting of the story in chapter 50 or so. Character is, in my opinion, the most crucial. They are what carries the premise and the emotions. First, a protagonist should have a desire. Don't take the word literally. because even a desire of doing nothing can be a desire. Second, a fatal flaw that the characters have been neglecting and using strategies to overlook the flaw. And the flaw is what they usually must overcome. The climber, Mori. Mori escapes human connections to the society, and that's his fatal flaw. But he climbs and uses nature to escape the fact and forces himself to consider that being alone is fine.
But is it really alright to be alone? Deep down, Mori knows that he does not want to be alone anymore.
It's not about climbing mountains. Overcoming this flaw is what this manga is about.
There are more complications to this, but I won't talk about them today. If you want to learn more, just comment down below and I will make a separate video about fatal flaws in depth. Also, check out my videos about the climber. It's my favorite video I've ever made.
There are always internal conflicts for the protagonist, and external conflicts are not necessary, but it is also important. I just said climbing mountain is not the climber's real conflict, but of course it is. It's Mori's external conflict. You see, the external desire. I've been especially writing stories with single characters now, because I want to practice how much I can get creative by writing a one-man story. But if you're writing a book with many characters, one thing that writers forget is the character connections. Take a look at this, Maze Runner. I recently watched the Maze Runner, the movie series, and realized how shit it is. I haven't read the original book, maybe it's better, but the movies are shit. Because every character is connected to Thomas, the protagonist, alone. We were given the context that the horde had been stuck in the maze together, and that's all. We didn't see their interactions, we didn't see their reason to care for each other, except for the empty context. Everyone is centered around Thomas alone. They react and feel because of Thomas. I can't see why the characters were even sad that other characters died, because Thomas seems to be the only center. Now look at Waterworld, a simple slice of life genre that builds tiny relationships between minor characters. Some don't even have a connection with the protagonist, Tomoko.
Characters have different best friends. Side characters interact with other side characters in individually unique ways. Look at this graph. This is the right way to do it. And this graph, no. I don't want any repeated content, so if you want to know how to write protagonist and antagonist relationship, check out this video where I talked about Sakamoto days. After all, protagonist and antagonist are the most crucial character archetypes.
Character setting, character design, those are simple. Just make them special and appropriate to the genre and the setting, and they will be good. But character development requires some extra attention. Character development is the process where a character changes throughout the story, such as learning, overcoming the fatal flaw, or even being corrupted. If your story only has a short time range of like a day or a week, then character development is not that necessary. Some movies, especially with TV series, the characters never change.
That is to achieve realism, because in our real lives, we don't really change that much in a short amount of time. So if your story has a short time range, it's really up to you whether you want to influence or to achieve realism.
But if your story has 2 years or more, your characters should always change, or else they will be boring. But keep track of realism. If you choose to time jump 2 years later, your character should also know something new even if you don't show the process for those 2 years. I've seen a few stories where I think, why did I suddenly go 2 years later? Nothing seems to have happened.
I need to point this out. A lot of light novels and Chinese comics I've read, they do time jumps for fun and adds no new information.
Look at Vagabond. After half a year, Musashi came back to defeat the Yoshioka family after being way stronger. We don't see his training in details, but for the important things like how he grew more and more sympathetic were shown in details. When the characters learn something, the audience do too. So, character development is often crucial. So we just spoke about time jumps and that it should always give information rather than being a blank jump. Time jump has a lot to do with pacing and it's a link to the plot. For the year that Musashi trained himself before fighting Yoshioka family, we don't want to see Musashi for all those 6 months after he already made 3 major plot events in the previous 6 months. But he did come back way stronger, and that is what we know, but we don't need in the later 6 months. If the pacing is too slow, our emotional connection with the characters will be detached. Some say a slow pacing is to build up for the conflict, but when done brilliantly, a build up can be fast and sharp. And the slow pacing should always feed the audience information and not just render interludes that have nothing to do with the main conflict. People say Vagabond's farm arc and Made in Abyss Golden City arc are too slow, but those are legit perfect for me. People also call Hunter x Hunter Chimera Ant arc too slow. I think it's fine, but it's just like it's borderline too slow. An overwhelmingly slow pacing would be the following arc of Hunter x Hunter, the Succession arc.
too much information are fed to us that I don't think any human beings can just tolerate it.
And people call Death Note complicated. Just look at Hunter x Hunter succession arc. Other than information, from time to time, we still need to see some action, some scenes to evoke emotions, or else it's like reading Wikipedia. The pacing can't be too fast as well. Look at my Made in Abyss video. We kill an important character, not just any character. After he or she is briefly introduced to us, we need to be engaged to the story before the next act, which the usual 3-act structure is setup, confrontation, and resolution. More importantly, we need to be engaged with the characters so we can have the same emotions as them as they go through the story. Another example of fast pacing is Blame. It's just a little bit fast, and it's a very interesting manga, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just leave it here, and of course I will make a video about it. That's basically it for plot. Plot is the sequence of events, so basically it's the story itself. So it's all up to you. I just want to make sure you know how to pace it. And pacing is something that I personally am terrible at too. I want to make sure you guys know it, and I want to make sure I know it as well. Yeah, let's stop the video right here. There are way more elements in writing a story, but today I introduced the big 5 materials of writing a story. Next week, I'll come back with theme, character archetypes, literary devices in any shape of fiction, and ambience. I hope this video is helpful for you, and if it is, feel free to like and subscribe. And please, writers, continue writing and be passionate about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.